Oh, this is a Swedish rally car. Sweet speed. I do wish ESC Sport Mode allowed a bit more yaw. There was a couple of situations where I'm like, I'm wide open, just leaning on the systems, and I'm like, I want more power. Let me rotate this thing. Give me juice. And then other times it was totally, you know, opened up and I was good to rock and roll.
Here's your brake test.
Damn, it's got good brakes.
Good brakes.
So that's what it's like when I do the brake test to you.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Thank you to our sponsors for today's video: InfyPower, Amber, StarCharge, and Nokian Tyres. InfyPower is the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. Amber offers a modern extended warranty for your Tesla's battery and more without the burden of long-term contracts or upfront payments. Check out the link in the description below to browse their plan options and get started with a free over-the-air diagnostic check. This video is also brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage, as well as microgrid solutions. And Nokian Tyres, a leader in safety and sustainability. Maximize performance and efficiency with their made in USA all-season tires and their dedicated Hakkapeliitta EV winter line from the inventor of the winter tire. Learn more at nokiantyres.com/EV. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Welcome to one of my favorite cars of the year to launch, the Polestar 3, and welcome to beautiful Wyoming. What the heck are we doing in Wyoming with the Polestar 3? I've already driven the car in Denver. Well, we're actually really able to drive the car today on amazing roads, not just sitting in traffic. And we are on the official US launch of Polestar 3, which means I get to nerd out with the R&D and development teams that really produced this thing and engineered it to be a Polestar from the core. And what should a Polestar be? Well, this car helps define the brand, as well as future Polestar models coming out in the future. We're going to see even more Polestar DNA, which we'll talk about in this video, coming in Polestar 5 and 6 and even 4, which is to launch after this one in our market. So in this video, we are going to go on a drive of the standard Polestar 3 dual motor. That's this one here. We will then swap into the performance pack and push it a little bit on some great roads. And Alyssa joins me behind the camera, and you'll be getting her impressions as someone who actually owns a competitor vehicle to this. She daily drives an Audi e-tron, which is in a very similar pricing category and similar size category. So Alyssa, are you excited about Polestar 3?
I am. I love the brand. The cars are always great. I've always loved Volvos in the past, and these are not Volvos, but they wink wink. So yeah, I'm excited to experience it, see what I think about, look at the more practicality side of it, the usability side of it, and give you guys the less nerdy side of experience of the Polestar 3.
Yeah, so if you haven't already, we've done 2 previous videos on Polestar 3. We took everyone for an initial tour at CES over a year and a half ago, where we went tip to tail on a full tour. I then made another video just recently that I highly encourage you to check out, where Jordan and I really went through every button, every setting, and we drove the car very briefly for the first time. So today we'll give you a quick overview of the car, but if you want a detailed explanation of how you can lower the rear suspension in the back for easier loading and little things like that, take a look at our full tour and first drive. And then today's just going to be a much more in-depth driving experience of the standard car and the performance pack. And there's some good, there's some bad, and we'll share it all in this video. I'd like to thank Factor for sponsoring this Out of Spec video. What the heck is Factor? Well, Factor delivers ready-to-eat meals right to your house. Essentially, a box shows up with all of your selections that you went through with all the different varieties of food, and they're fresh and never frozen and ready in just 2 minutes. It's actually pretty cool. You guys know in my particular case, we're always on the go filming, we're running between different shoot locations, and it's honestly a lifesaver just to take one of these boxes, pop it in the microwave, and 2 minutes later, I have a fresh, never frozen, high quality meal ready to eat. And they also offer gourmet options, premium options. In this case, I had a nice steak dish the other day. This box is empty because I've already eaten it and it was delicious. And yeah, it's just awesome. You can basically go through, meal prep, choose exactly what you want for the entire week. It comes in a box and it can save you so much time and money when compared to eating out all of the time. They also have different options for dietary restrictions or really whatever you're looking for, including snacks and shakes and little things to get you through your day. So all you need to do is head to factor75.com and use the code OUTOFSPEC50. That code will get you 50% off of your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. Again, head to factor75.com and use the code OUTOFSPEC50 for 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. Alyssa, we're going to take everyone on a very quick tour of this car initially before we get into driving. We'll go through the specs, just a refresher for everyone, go through the battery pack, the motors, the everything. But I want to show everyone around the car briefly so they can see what the heck we're working with. The design, how do you think it looks, by the way?
I think it looks good. It's not offensive. It's pretty. It's not ostentatious. It's just very low key, which for me, I prefer. I like to just kind of blend in more than be a sore thumb in traffic. So I think, to me, I think it looks great.
So this or sort of a Geely sister car, if you will, Lotus Electra, different platforms, but
I still love my Lotus Electra.
But that's showy.
It is, but I don't think I'm ever really gonna own that anytime soon.
Yeah, the part of this car that I think looks amazing is the back of it.
You like
that
the rump.
3/4 view, these lights look great. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good looking car. It's a good little it's an eye catcher, not an eye starer. So to me, yeah, I like it. The color choices that they have are really great too. We'll show you the other ones, the more blue looking one.
Thunder, I think they call it, maybe.
Yeah, something, I don't know. But style-wise, I think it looks good. I think it fits into our market very well.
Nerd specs, just so everyone knows what the heck we're driving. Every Polestar 3 comes, at least right now, with a 111 kilowatt hour gross battery pack with about 107, 108 usable. And that is a fairly big battery, Alyssa. 107, 108 kilowatt hour usable should be a huge range vehicle. But then when you look at the EPA results of this car, it's not actually huge range. Yeah, there's the blue one going by there. We're on the official first drive for the US in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which we're very lucky to be here. And again, I really come to these things so we can meet with the engineers. And I've already been talking to my friend Christian, who's responsible for development and R&D. And we've been nerding out all about this car. And it's been great to learn about the compromises and the decisions. So 107, 108 kilowatt hour usable. Range is just over 300 miles on this one, which is the dual motor non-performance. And you need to get different wheels. This one's on the accessory 22-inch wheels, but typically 21-inch would be the most you would get. And then you could, I think, even get a 20-inch Aero if I'm not mistaken. So, okay, range would be like just over 300. And then you're into like the 270, 280 range when you get the performance pack, which actually makes no sense to me because it's the same drivetrain. So what's up with that, Alyssa?
Well, I don't know. Don't ask me that question. Ask them later.
I'll tell you one thing that I think has a big part to play in this EPA range difference between the dual motor and the performance. And it is the rear clutch disconnect. You see, this car uses 2 permanent magnet motors. In this case, 360 kilowatts. I think 380 kilowatts in the performance version, if I remember correctly. We'll make sure you get all the stats, of course. But when you're in key up settings, which is how EPA tests the vehicles, they turn them on in whatever mode the car defaults to is how they run their efficiency testing. The non-performance pack cars keep the rear motor disconnected. They're essentially front wheel drive cars under highway normal cruising. At low speed, I think below 30 kilometers per hour, so it's always all-wheel drive. So if you're in a slippery condition, you'll have an all-wheel drive start every time, but then the clutch will disconnect. And we'll play around with the clutch disconnect tuning. We talked a lot about it in our EX90 review, which is the sister car to this, built on SPA 2 platform. But the performance pack never lets the rear motor disconnect as standard. So this car starts in range mode, and the performance pack starts in performance mode. Other than that, there shouldn't be any difference to range. So it's why you can't always base your purchasing decisions off EPA, because you could just get, when range matters on the highway doing a long cruise, you can get a performance pack, hit range mode, and then you'll be there, basically identical range numbers then it's just down to your wheel and tire package. What else should we mention? Charging performance, Alyssa. Charge port location in the correct location. And this car will have access to the Tesla supercharging network very soon. Very, very, very soon. With a CCS adapter, NACS to CCS adapter. Or is it the other way around? Interestingly, this car, from an AC charging perspective, has a 48 amp onboard charger. Nothing crazy there. It really should have an 80 amp for a premium over 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, but it does not support 19.2 kilowatt. I also think in Europe, you maybe can get a 22 kilowatt onboard charger. I'll have to confirm that. I'm not sure. But the DC charging performance, they claim 250 kilowatts, Alyssa.
Yeah, they did claim that.
But this is not an 800 volt car.
No, it is not.
So, same as EX90, this is one of the very first cars on sale in our market to request more than 500 amps from a charging station. Is this too nerdy for people?
No.
Okay. So this car will actually request, I think, upwards of over 600 amps to get up to 250 kilowatts, which is exciting. Only Tesla superchargers can provide that at the moment.
That's fine by me.
So EVgo Delta high power stations, which are like the, EVgo stations that can do 2 output at the same time,
right.
Those can do 540 amps. The Alpitronic Hyper 400s that are going in, those can do 600 amps. And then Tesla can do 700 amps on version 3 chargers. Will they allow that much current with the Tesla adapter? I don't know. We'll have to find out. The cars will have plug-in charge communication with Tesla supercharger network, and we're not sure, and no one at Polestar is sure, if we have to wait for the native NACS cars coming in 2025 to get 250 kilowatts on a supercharger, or if they'll do it with the adapter. I wish I had an answer. I'm trying. But it just is very odd that they would not really have those answers for us. What do you think, Alyssa?
I just feel like that's very typical with automakers. They don't like to tell us too much until they can confirm it themselves, which is fair because you don't want to put it out to the viewers, the audience, the people who are buying this car and promise them something that might not happen.
Yeah.
Because, the whole relationship with Tesla and all that stuff, it's very hard for these automakers to...
Yeah, Polestar was
them.
expecting to have supercharger access by now already. And it's been months delayed.
Exactly. So it's better to promise what you know than to promise what you have no clue.
Right. So these are the things we'll be testing over time with this car, trying the official NACS variant when that car launches with J3400 port on the side and with the adapter. The thing to know though is most people will probably be going to Electrify America or many EVgo stations or ChargePoint or whatever. Typically the max is 500 amps on most public charging stations. Therefore, you're going to get about 200 kilowatts on this car. And if you watch our EX90 review, I took that car, the voltage range is like high 300s, low-ish 400s. It's not a very high 400 volt pack like e-tron or Rivian. It's a little bit lower voltage than those. So it does need the current to get this thing charging. What does that mean in terms of charge times? It means about just over 30 minutes, 10 to 80%. It's a big battery, and you're probably gonna be in that high 30 minutes, low 40 minutes. We'll do the testing, 10 to 80 on a 500 amp limited charger, which is again, when deliveries start, there's supercharger access is not available now. You're only gonna get a maximum of about 200 kilowatts on most stations. So it's not the best fast charging vehicle, mostly because Polestar decided to stick with a low voltage architecture here, which is confusing because, Alyssa, we've had the chance to experience Lotus Electra, which is also in the Geely family, built on a different platform. But how cool would it have been if EX90 and Polestar 3 launched as a high voltage vehicle with native crazy fast charging? Wouldn't that have been epic?
Yeah, I mean, that's where the industry is moving towards. So shoulda, coulda, woulda, but they didn't.
Yeah,
so
there's always room for a mid-cycle refresh, but I'm not sure. We've never seen a refresh, a mid-cycle go from a low to high voltage yet. It requires a completely different electrical architecture to do that. So I think wrong decision, my view looking at it, but of course, this is how it came, and maybe we can even talk to Christian as in an interview in this video about some of those decisions. The other confusing part to me is the dual permanent magnet with clutch disconnect. You would think we have technology 2024 right now as a new model year launching. This car has to last 7 to 10 years, before there's a major update. I would have thought we don't need clutch disconnects anymore. Lucid has proven that they can control their back EMF, of course with a high voltage pack, but they control their back EMF so well that they don't need to apply any current to a permanent magnet motor below about 85 miles an hour. Whereas here you have complicated Borg-Warner clutch disconnect that costs a lot of money, that requires a lot of tuning. And I would think you would either just do a permanent magnet, maybe primary axle up front, and then a secondary induction motor, just to avoid the complications of clutch disconnects. Whenever I see a clutch disconnect in a car, to me, it feels a little bit like, okay, we just didn't want to spend the time engineering a electrical solution to our flux related losses. We'll just do a mechanical component and throw that on there. Now, at least in this case with this Borg-Warner clutch disconnect, they have a secondary benefit, which does help, of mechanical torque vectoring on the rear axle, which means it can actually apply more power mechanically through a wet clutch system to the outside rear wheel, so that if you're on throttle getting into a corner, or even on reach, and I assume they could do it as well, it will help tuck the nose into a corner. And that is really cool. My Polestar, as you guys know, I have a Polestar 1. That car also has not mechanical, but electrical torque distribution on the rear axle, because I have two individual unlinked motors, but we do have torque vectoring on the rear of that car. So Polestar already has experience tuning torque vectoring systems. This was not available on Polestar 2. Let's show everyone the inside, because we've been nerding out so much about the outside, Alyssa. Back seat review. I have my front seat set to, you can show everyone what it looks like really quick. I have my front seat set to my seating position. I'm 6'1" or 180 centimeters or 160. Gosh, I don't even know, but you can do the conversion. But I'm 6'1". Back seat test. Oh, damn, these seats are comfortable, Alyssa.
Yeah,
I kind of sink into them. Look at how much room I have.
Yeah, plenty of leg room, plenty of space. Headroom is good. And yeah.
I'm gonna actually have you try it out. Let me let's get Alyssa's backseat review here.
Well, I'm 5'10" with 6'1" legs. My legs are longer than Kyle's. And yeah, there's plenty of room. Comfortable. It's not offensive to be back here. And
isn't that seat nice? It's pretty squishy.
Yeah, it is squishy.
Does it have a center armrest?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah.
It's good. I like it. I like the materials inside of here. They're nice and soft.
You've got vents back here.
Do have vents. I have heated seats back here.
USB-C ports as well.
We have side vents, which that's very important.
But I don't think they are focused to the passengers.
No.
I think it's to prevent window fogging.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because if you close the door, like if you look on that side, you'll see it's kind of angled right at the window.
Yeah.
See if I can zoom in on that. So we'll have to test it out. We'll do a max AC test later on today, Alyssa.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. But I mean, yeah, getting in and out of it, it's high enough off the ground where you're not pulling yourself up. So it's friendly in that way.
What do you think of the door handles?
Good.
Cool. They're a little bit plasticky on the back end, right? And that door rattled when I closed it there. You hear that? There's a little brrr.
The German way to, whenever we go to any of the conventions out in Germany, you just see a bunch of Germans just slamming doors with the cars 24/7. It's actually pretty hilarious.
Shout out to Thomas from Autogefühl for the door thunk test.
Yeah, so it definitely, yeah, it's good. How do I open this thing?
All the way down by the license plate. Yep.
Okay.
So this and EX90 are very similar, obviously, in construction. This car has a much more sloping roofline, but I wouldn't call it a coupified SUV.
No, yeah. It has good underfloor storage, which that's great. Good mounting.
You can
hooks
drop
and
the
stuff
rear
like that.
suspension there. So why don't you hit that down button, and I can show everyone how this will squat down. You can see it coming down there. Oh yeah, how cool would this thing look if you just slam it all the time? Now we've got it Carolina squatted.
Right.
But that's great for Ellie, getting her in the car.
Yeah, it does help with dogs getting in and out of. For overall space, I think I got to take all this stuff out and do all that to figure out the back seat room.
Yeah, so I think you just put your finger in there, pull the trigger, perhaps even from the other side, I'm not sure. Yeah, there you go. And then you'll push it down. Nice, look at that, completely flat there. I think it's designed to do it from the back seats in, but it does work. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty flat.
And then this should pop out if you pull that little switch right there, Alyssa. We can get it all opened up. There we go. And you'll probably have to do the other side. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's good space.
Yeah.
Really great.
Yeah, it's really deep. It's not so wide, but
this is a ski pass through.
Yeah, they've got the ski pass through.
Yeah. Which that's cool. So I don't think it's really, in my opinion, if someone were to say this is an SUV, I'd be like, okay, sure.
It's really kind of a wagon, especially when you drop the suspension like that. They utilize the interior. It is big inside. Don't let that fool you by looking on the outside, but is it massive inside? No. Yeah. But it's, of course, you know, EX90 is going to be a bigger car. This is still meant to be sort of a Macan EV competitor, if you will. Maybe borderline Cayenne. I think it's in between. So now that the trunk is closed, will the rear pop up? Negative.
Maybe when you start.
Maybe when you start driving. It looks really funny dumped out like that. And then, of course, while you're getting that all put back together, Alyssa, I'm going to show everyone the front seats, which, in my opinion, just look absolutely amazing. So you have plenty of adjustments here. Single minimalist control. You can hit this one right here and adjust a bunch of different settings, from your, you know, thigh support to your bolsters. And then, of course, you've got a bunch of massage settings. And big shout out here from my perspective. There we go. You can do cooled and heated seats at the same time. Hell yeah. How much do you like that?
Huh?
Cooled and heated seats, same time.
Oh, that's great.
That is my main requirement in a vehicle. It's so weird, but I love that you can do it. You also have some little holder right here and center console, which is great. Loving the seats, you know, just little attention to detail everywhere. We showed this in the full tour. It was really, really great.
Back here.
What's you got going on back here?
So I saw that there have these little grocery bag looking things, and I think this is the purpose of it. Yeah, because this locks into here. You can lock your grocery bags onto here and use this underfloor storage for
Volvos have had that forever.
Well, yeah, but just wanted to show everybody within that world. So yeah,
actually, I was going to say I don't see Polestar anywhere on this car, but it says it right there.
Yeah, it says it on the back of the seats. Oh.
Yep. Yeah, the seats even have some writing. I think maybe the viewers may have caught that. They explain how they were sourced, your CO2 equivalent from the material. My main concern with this car, Alyssa, is the seat material wearing. As you know from our Polestar 1 and other leather surfaced vehicles, they start to crease, and you can actually already see some age creasing. This is just on the passenger side. This car only has 200 miles on it.
Yeah.
And so I would have really loved to see whatever Rivian uses in their seats on here, because the Rivian seat, whatever material, you know, synthetic, whatever, it feels great and it holds up really well. But look at this, Alyssa, 200 miles on the car.
Yeah, the inside of the
Damn, it's already like loose material here. This is really scary.
A little saggy looking.
Yeah, that's going to look terrible in a year. Yeah. So be really careful getting in and out of your Polestar 3. Maybe order some extra seats.
Just use your car.
Front trunk or no front trunk? I actually don't remember. Should we check?
Sure.
Okay. I think I pull. Yep. There you go. And it's on the right side. Right here, Alyssa, is the latch.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, that's really hard to get to.
Yeah. You can see the yellow thing right there.
Wait. Okay.
Aha, front trunk. Nice. Small-ish, especially for a ground-up battery electric platform. That's a little small.
Yeah. But
it's got double latch, so you want to latch that side, and then you'll have to latch this side. There you go. Now she's down. I see so many Polestar 2s with one latch down all the time, because Volvo Polestar do the double latch. I do like this smart zone up here, by the way. They show the heating elements for the radar and your sensor cluster. Really cool how they lay out some of the safety technology on here. Should we drive it?
Yeah.
Okay, you drive it.
Let's drive
I've already driven it. People know I like it, so you drive it. But this is the non-performance dual motor. By the way, we haven't mentioned the sound system. It rips.
Yep.
Sound system's great. So I'll let you get all set up and settled, and then we'll hit the road.
Thanks.
Welcome inside the Polestar 3. Alyssa, we are ready to rock and roll. You want to go through drive settings first so you know kind of how the car is set up?
Yeah, I guess.
So you're going to hit the car here, and then you're going to go to settings, and then drive. So, is it set up how you like it? Creep off, ESC on, unless you want to drift it?
No, I don't.
Okay. Performance, so you're going to skip the clutch disconnect delays.
Yeah, so I felt it a little bit when we drove up here, and I didn't like it too much, so I don't like delay.
What's interesting, though, is when you floor it with the car in range mode, it gives you like a smooth power delivery, but it just feels like turbo lag.
Right.
Feels like a combustion engine that's delayed versus just locking it in performance. And I would recommend most people just keep it in performance all the time. Range doesn't matter 99% of the time. Electricity's so cheap. The efficiency difference isn't huge. The main reason this car starts in range mode is just to get the better EPA number.
Right.
And on the highway, you hit range and it'll disconnect, and that's fine.
Everybody cares about it.
Oh, other settings, though. Just walk the viewers through those really quick, Alyssa. Drive. Sorry, we just didn't talk about the other ones. Steering, do you like it in light or standard?
Standard's fine.
Suspension feel, we have it in the middle.
Nimble.
Nimble. It's very smooth and standard. Very nice. And then one pedal drive we have on full.
Yeah, looks pretty good. All the other stuff.
Yeah, so you can like set your charge limit. You know, Polestar recommends, I think, an 80 or 90% daily limit. Let's take a look. Daily, 90% actually. I would charge it lower than that, but 90%. They have a 48 amp onboard charger. You have plug-in charge on the vehicle, so you can plug and charge with either superchargers or EA, and this car does support multi-contract plug-in charge, which is great. So you can store multiple different contracts in here, especially for networks that don't allow roaming. Lane keeping aid off because we're on some great twisty roads. We don't want it to impact your drive. And I think, if anyone wants to see more of this, the software is significantly better than Polestar 2. And so far on this drive today, we've not had a single glitch.
No.
The only thing I've noticed that isn't quite ready is when I come here to the apps menu and I go to performance, it says it's not available yet. We're working on a new version. So far, that's the only thing that I can see that's not finished. And the driver assistance was a bit buggy on the way up.
Can I drive now?
You can drive. So your first impressions.
Thanks. That's great. Yeah, just gonna wait for some traffic to get out.
Yeah, we have to go to the right here.
Yeah, I know, but there's a big boulder in the way, or a rock. So I don't want to hit my rock there. That's a boulder.
Yeah, don't hit that. Seating position, how's it feel?
Good. I have to drive around a little bit. I sit differently in a car every single time I get into it. So, yeah, I know. I'm getting out there. I'm watching over here. Okay, this might be a while. I don't know why you started the clip. I like to get a little.
We can let you get underway.
Yeah. I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
I don't want people to
think you're a timid driver. You're not.
I'm not. But it don't have. Yeah, there's circumstances. A little slippery looking out here, and yeah, just want to make sure I get on the road nice and safely while on camera. I don't want them to see my true colors yet. But yeah, I think seating wise, very comfortable, and I don't know. The way I look at my overall opinions don't really happen as soon as I sit in the car. It takes me about a good 15-20 minutes to kind of figure out how I like things, go around a couple turns, see what kind of blind spots I have, and because visibility is a huge thing for me. I like to be able to see anything and everything at all times.
Welcome to beautiful Idaho. Alyssa, you've been cruising in the non-performance pack Polestar 3 for about 30-45 minutes now.
Yeah.
And your impression of the car, please.
It drives very smoothly. The noise is very quiet. Everything about it is just very, I think, seamless in a way. It's a very easy vehicle to drive. Even on the twisty roads, it doesn't feel like you're having to work the car too much to be able to maneuver it, which is really nice. And I think it's just for the everyday. It's a good his and hers car. It's good for the everyday driver. That's more the practicality, just looking to cruise around and have a good experience. And then also it's great with the performance side as well. I'm not a huge performance. We'll get that later with Kyle on camera in the more performance car as well. But I mean, I think just overall it's simple, it's smooth, the regen's really nice, the pedal feels great.
Yeah, do you think it has a lot of strong regen, or is it too weak, or what's your impression? We have it in full max one pedal mode.
I mean, I don't think compared to other cars that I've driven, is it the most? No. But I think it's a good happy medium of regen. I don't really notice it terribly as much. Like, it's not a big punch. Like, so it's smoother. It's better for me when I'm driving, like with the dogs in the back or kids, whatever it might be, and it's a lot smoother pedal feel and it's not as jerky. So it's a good compromise of regenerative braking, in my opinion.
Yeah, from my impression sitting in the passenger seat, obviously this is the most time I've spent with the car so far, and it just feels so high quality. Especially compared to Polestar 2, like, just forget everything you know about Polestar 2, which is still a really good kind of performance-y car, especially in BST trim and some other stuff. But this for sure is a whole nother level of, I wouldn't go so far to say luxury, but it's got some luxury vibe to it. And you were mentioning, of course, you own an e-tron. That car's tuned softer, but it wafts a bit more. This is kind of, you hit a bump and it's done.
Right. Yeah, and it doesn't have the booty bounce like my e-tron does. It's just very well structured, put together. Like, it's just
feels tight. I mean, it
yeah.
really feels like a high torsional rigidity, nice suspension settings, firm, lets you get
exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. So, you know, suspension gets a huge range of adjustment on the suspension.
Right.
To me, it's certainly comfortable enough to do the cruise. And we've actually taken you out of the performance mode where it is doing the dynamic clutch disconnect and reconnect. And you don't seem to find it too much of an issue, do you?
No, it's not. But I think if I were to never have the performance side of it, I wouldn't ever complain. But when I do, and I can put it in performance mode.
Yeah, we'll do that now.
I would just keep it that way.
So now hit the throttle.
Yeah. It's just more of that quick get up and go, and I'm that person at the light. If I'm head to head with another person and we're first, I like to be a little bit further ahead so I just don't have any traffic around me. And with that lag, that would bother me if I know I have this. It's not slow by any means. I think electric cars are perfectly fast for the most part. There's some that are god-awful slow off the line, but for the majority, I don't really care about that true get up to quick speed unless I'm trying to get out of a situation and I'm like, okay, holy crap, I need to get out quicker. And that's probably, I would just keep it in performance mode.
Yeah, and I think if we were to ever get one of these, which I would love to have, I would get the performance pack, so it would just start in performance mode all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it would be bothersome to own this non-performance at all.
No, it's one button away from having everything connected.
Right, and that's completely fine. You get in the car and you pop it on every time, or maybe there's even a setting to where you can just keep it on always.
Negative, only in the performance pack, which is so weird, and that's the EPA, you know, driving that decision.
So we have found some niggles that are kind of annoying. So when I'm just cruising down the road, I'm generally like this, just a one-hander kind of gal, and my hand's always right down here. And that seems to be a dead zone for the capacitive wheel, and it keeps yelling at me that I don't have my hands on the wheel, which I don't have my hands, plural, on the wheel. It's correct, but I do have control of the vehicle.
Yeah.
So we figured that out, and then I was sitting here playing with these, and I'm like, oh, what the heck did they do? I'm like pressing buttons, and it did something then.
Yeah, you got the voice commands going now.
Which is terrible. I hate voice commands. That's the only thing that works there. So,
yeah. There's no way to adjust audio on the steering wheel.
Right, which that's what I was trying to. And I was trying to change songs, and I was trying to figure out what I press, and I was like, yeah, that's not there yet.
Yeah, because the only steering wheel you have really is that bottom button right there.
Yeah.
And that will adjust the screen display. So hit that,
You can get maps, hit it again, you'll get your driver assistance, hit it again, and then you get a sort of simplified view. But I'm sure that will come through an OTA, but it's just like, why does it not have volume control on the steering wheel? What the heck?
I mean, so to go back to the beginning of the video, when you were talking and asking me about how I feel about over the air, I think you asked me about that.
Yeah.
Stuff like this, like, yeah, that should be in a car at launch. That's very simple things. I'm talking about more, better sound improvement with the audio, or better overall performance, whether they're putting in pet mode, which they said that they're going to be putting in pet mode, stuff like that. Like, of course, like, it's okay that it's not there to begin with, but generally speaking, I don't like having to take my eyes off the road or have to move my hand in order to do to change songs or anything like that. That should just be that to me is that's weird. That should be standard. But
totally agree, and I'm sure it will be. We got to ask them about that. I've also noticed a little bit of brake blending happening in one pedal drive. I can hear the, of course, because it's wet, but I can hear the discs getting grabbed, and it could just be doing it because it's raining outside, to clean the discs, of course, which is a feature this car has of a wipe functionality, but it just seems to, every time you lift off the throttle, blend in some friction brakes, which it's a loss of energy. And again, we're not driving the car in dry conditions, so it could just happen when the wipers are on, which is, a lot of cars have different brake tuning depending on if the wipers are on or off to clean the discs.
Yeah.
And like your e-tron, for example, I don't know if you know this, Alyssa, but the first brake application of every day, it doesn't regen at all because it wants to tune the brake pedal and recalibrate it.
Yeah, that does bother me.
But this is a brake-by-wire system. I think it's a Bosch sort of one-box design, similar to Macan EV. There is a hydraulic cylinder. If you were to lose power to the car, that does still connect the brake pedal to the friction brakes, which I had a power failure in my Polestar 1, and it actually did that the other day. Yeah, but long story. But anyway, looks like we're going to exit here and get some coffee or a little halfway stop. So yeah, looking forward to, getting out, chatting with the guys a little bit about the car, asking about the steering wheel controls. Yeah, there's your lane departure kicking in. Even though we have it turned off, it still went. What's up with that?
I don't know. That stuff, this one doesn't bother me as much because it's not as jerky and telling you, oh my god, you got to get over there. It's more like it's loud. That's the only one thing. But the actual movement of it is not as controlling. Like, whenever you have it in my e-tron, that drives me nuts. I turn it off every single time.
Yeah.
It's very controlling. It's like just trying to feel every single movement that I'm doing.
Yep.
But yeah, overall, I think it's great. And yeah, I'm taking the long way here to get over.
Nice.
I like the car a lot. I think it's great, and I really enjoyed the fact that there are going to have over-the-air updates. I hope they implement that, and I hope they implement that in a very user-friendly way to where we don't have to go all the way down to Denver in order to get
it'll be over the air, so I imagine we won't have to go get it serviced.
Does it already have all the chip and all that stuff
Yes.
in order to be able to do so? It's
at delivery, they're OTA ready.
Great.
All right. Well, also, one thing we haven't done, Alyssa, in your drive is we're kind of in the middle of nowhere. Can you just launch it? So we've got performance mode on. We'll come to a stop. Give it the beans.
So a little laggy to begin with.
Yeah, it had a weird,
And that was in performance mode.
Well, let's do a brake boost. So go left foot hard on the brake, floor it with the right, and then lift off the brake.
So
you got 2 feet in all the way, and then pop off the brakes. There you go.
yeah, that felt better.
Yeah, no lag when you 2-foot it.
Don't do that.
Yeah. But actually, let's try it with performance mode off. Here, I'll put one pedal drive on. Oh, you got 2 levels of one pedal drive, which makes sense. You have normal and standard. So now this is just normal from a light. Don't 2-foot it, just mat it. Because it should stay connected at low speed. Yeah, so I would say identical launch performance with performance mode on or off. So your whole comment about getting away from a stoplight would be the same.
Right, yeah, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It gets up there, it gets to speed quick enough, and yeah, so that's fun. Here's your brake test.
Damn, it's got good brakes.
Good brakes. There you
So
go.
that's what it's like when I do the brake test to you.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's not good. And you do it multiple repetitive times over and over because you like to get all the feelings. It's not fun.
But no, as a passenger in the brake test, I don't think I've ever done one of those with you driving.
To catch you off guard on that. 'Cause
Yeah, I wasn't
don't
ready.
always give me a warning, but I watch your feet to see what you're going to do. So I know when you're about to do it. I can kind of feel your build up for it too. So.
All right, well, let's go get some coffee. Puddle test, wade mode. Oh boy. Oh yeah, this is an off-road machine.
Wow.
Wow.
That was impressive.
All right, Alyssa, I get to drive this thing now. Just stopped for a quick little coffee stop. So let's set up the car for how I'd like to do it. First of all, raining out, lights go on when the wipers are on, but we are going to force the lights on. And then we will go here and to drive settings, and I'm gonna go creep off. Power delivery range, we'll keep it there. I'm gonna keep everything in nice and squishy mode and one pedal drive on full. And we're gonna go cruise around. So my first time driving the non-performance pack car, which the performance pack doesn't seem to add all that much. A little bit more power from the little software bump, which sure we'll take it. But this feels plenty quick for, you know, most people. We're not talking Model X Plaid performance. Actually, in fact, like half of that. But
Yeah.
we're actually not that far away on price.
No, no,
So
we're not.
you really are down on straight line performance compared to the competition, especially as Lucid Gravity is going to be coming into this price category. And that's going to be, very performance oriented. And yeah, so I'm just, I wish Polestar would just go, oh, okay, 1,000 horsepower, do it. Because I'm wide open right now. And it's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, for a performance-minded buyer, you're definitely going to get the performance pack. But yeah. Also, rear wiper, shout out. I'll hit it again for you guys.
Say hello.
Woo-hoo. You know, it's like, that's what happens when you build and engineer cars in Sweden. You put rear wipers on your cars. Love it. I love the steering wheel angle. I love the wheel, that it's not that padded. You really do get a sense of what's going on initially. I can just feel those secondary road textures, if you will, coming through the wheel way more. And I noticed this in my initial drive too. Way more steering feedback than Polestar 1 and 2. Polestar 1 and 2 had incredibly numb steering. And they all have a pretty slow rack on center, but yeah, wow, just way nicer steering here throughout. And yeah, we're just gonna cruise, crank up the tunes. I'll have some distance to go. Wow, the lag time on the throttle, you didn't really make that a big deal. I was just wide open for like a whole second before it engaged the rear motor.
I said it lagged,
Man,
but we're not in performance mode.
I know, that's why there's lag.
Yeah, I said that there was
I think
definitely
it's
lag.
almost slightly dangerous because you're expecting, look at that, it won't move. There we go.
Well, here comes the more critical side of things.
Yeah,
The fluff is over.
I think you got to leave this thing in performance. Yeah, then it actually gets up and goes.
I agreed with that.
Yeah.
That I was agreeing.
But
yeah,
that-
I definitely would.
You know, there's a couple different ways to tune a clutch disconnect. And the way Polestar did it was when you go wide open throttle, they ramp in the front motor. So just at the time they max out the front motor, the rear motor has rev matched and connect. And of course, the faster you're going, the longer it will take to connect the rear axle because you've got to spin that electric machine up from zero and it takes more time. And then it will, basically by the time the front motor maxes out, the rear motor's there to add power. But the connect, I have to say, is really smooth. It's a great connect. There's almost no NVH. I can tell when it happens, but I think even you could, Alyssa, but I think it's really, you're into the details to find that. It wouldn't bother me, except for, just the lag. So what my preference actually would have been, which probably wouldn't have led to a as smooth experience, was when I go full throttle, give me everything on the front motor and then get the rear connected as soon as possible. And what it does is I go full throttle, it ramps up the front. We were actually connected there because I was in performance mode. It ramps in the front and then brings the rear in for this smooth power delivery. It just makes the car feel slow. So that's where you just leave it in performance mode all the time. And same issue with EX90. EX90, you can leave it connected all the time. But on any of the variants, the only car in our market that will default start up with the clutch connected is Polestar 3 with performance pack. So that's the one you have to buy, of course.
Of course.
And who cares about the EPA range number? When you're cruising on the highway, just take it out of performance and they'll be the same. Yeah, this is really not great. So we talked to our friend Christian quite a bit about the real world range optimizations on this car. Heat pump as standard, cruising, they do 125 kilometer per hour steady state optimization, which is like 75, 80 miles an hour is what this car is really optimized for in terms of efficiency. So it should do pretty well in our 70 mile per hour highway test. And that's where range matters on the highway. We always say every electric car has plenty of range for the city. Don't optimize the car for the city, but EPA forces them to. And that's where you get weird tuning with this clutch stuff. And at least on the highway, yeah, the clutch disconnect is going to help even more, I should say. That was a bad example. But on the optimizing for highway cruising is something Polestar did for real world range. So I appreciate that. But here at 63 miles an hour, I'm just going to mat it. Nothing happens till now. It's like it has to downshift a bunch of gears, but there is a mechanical component to it. I hate that. I really hate that. So what I'm going to do is lock it in performance mode. I can feel the clutch connect there. We're going to hit Tidal with Dolby Atmos and see if I can finally like Dolby songs in cars. To me, they always feel a bit unnatural. I'd much prefer a standard setup, stereo setup, which this car allows as well. So good one pedal calibration, good amount of regen. I fit great in this car. I love the view out of it. Like Alyssa was saying, very, very little blind spot, I think. And there's just something so nice about this car. I really love this car. Seats are great. Design's great.
Yeah.
Feeling of the car is just very high quality, very sporty underneath everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be a great daily driver.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the efficiency on the highway because I think it's not going to be that good. Because it's 108 kilowatt hour usable or 107 usable. It doesn't get that much range in the EPA cycle at least. So we'll find out. But performance mode, oh yeah. So this feels very front motor heavy. I think the performance pack would make it feel a little bit more rear biased because it juices the rear motor. All right, we've got 30 minutes to cruise. Gonna set the driver assistance, steering assist active. Let's up the speed. Oh, so these buttons are for the adaptive cruise speed here at the moment, but no volume adjustment on the wheel anywhere. And we're gonna let it do its thing. Pretty good lane centering, capacitive wheel with some dead zones, so you have to do this sometimes to wake it up, find a good spot for it, but just picking up the lines, no problem. It does offer automatic lane change from the start, by the way, but it's very timid is what I've noticed. But of course, these updates are coming rapidly. Talking to the guys handling these cars, they're like every day or two, they're getting a new software patch from whoever does their software. So they're just rapidly improving the software, which is like, yeah, okay, but maybe they should have waited and had it ready for start of production. You could always wait to purchase one until it's done. Good. Well, you guys join us on a nice twisty-ish waterfront road, and we've just been ripping the car a little bit, which of course, allegedly. And I have to say the overall balance of the car is great. Like Alyssa was saying, it inspires confidence. You can go hard into a corner, you can power out of a corner. It loves throttling out of a corner. I think my biggest disappointment is the power, actually. At low speed, this thing feels punchy and it gets off the line pretty well, especially when you 2-foot launch it. But here at 60, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, it's okay. Now the top speed of this car is like 210 kph or so, but maybe 130 miles an hour, 120 miles an hour, 125, somewhere around there. And that's pretty good, better than the Volvo stuff that's all limited at 180 kph or 112 miles an hour. Yeah, forgive my conversions, but yeah, definitely this has the higher top speed than the EX90, which doesn't matter for the US market that much. It's more for if you're in Europe and you occasionally travel through Germany, nice to have an over 200 kph top speed run. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we've had this seatbelt electrical system fault pop up. I did a quick little hard brake test and it pulled the pre-tensioner on the seatbelts and it's thrown this warning. I'm not really sure how to clear it. Oh, there we go. Just hit the check mark. So that's gone now, but I think it stores in the notification menu here. So the bugginess of these new Geely cars, EX30, EX90, and now Polestar 3, they all seemingly have some little underlying small glitches. Nothing that really, other than EX30, that impacts the driving performance. Some of you know the EX30 broke down on me. Two completely different platforms. That's SEA, this is SPA2, so different platforms, different electrical architectures, but still, it doesn't seem to have those years of development and fine-tuning and working out every last kink or bug that I think Volvo and Polestar should be known for, like the German brands do. And yeah, just there's this sense of sort of rush the hardware to market, fix it in post with a software update later vibe going on. Now, I do think this is significantly improved than even the car I test drove, so they are improving things quickly. I'm sure it's fine. It wouldn't actually stop me from buying one, but I'm also a little bit more lenient than your average consumer when it comes to first generation, first model year products. I mean, we need to get cars early for testing them, and that is, you know, the whole reason, you know, why you guys watch our videos, hopefully, is because we get new cars, we test them, we run them through our programs, and we deal with some bugs or glitches because of that sometimes. But in terms of the actual performance driving, I've got everything kind of dialed up, suspension and firm. This is a unbelievably smooth road, really great pavement quality. Unfortunately, it's wet, so we can't really be pushing that hard. But the balance of the car is great. It actually has a little bit of oversteering character to it. And there's an ESC sport mode. We haven't tried that. Maybe in the performance pack car, we'll try and slide it around when we get to some closed areas. But here, just cruising nicely down a back road, very tactile, does exactly what I want it to do. It's a heavy car. It doesn't really feel that heavy. It feels light on its feet considering the weight. So I think they just absolutely nailed the dynamics of what a Polestar should be, which is generally pretty stable, not a drift machine, but it can just hammer down a back road, and we were hammering earlier. And it was great, really, really good. And this isn't even the performance pack. Just to show everyone a little bit, I can just kind of come to this turn off, chuck it in, and let's go here to settings, settings, drive, ESC sport mode. There we go. And let's go full power and just rip it back on pavement. Look at that, just hammered right up to speed like nothing. And you know, I was putting in huge inputs and the torque vectoring was doing its thing and felt pretty good, don't you think, Alyssa?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, nice. Love it. Alyssa, I just noticed some very odd tuning. I have one pedal driving on standard, which would indicate this does it regardless of if it can regen or has to use friction brakes. It gives you the same one pedal drive experience, and then it chooses when it wants to friction brake or regen. And here, if I lift off completely with ESC on, you can see we're getting quite a bit of regen on the gauge. I can go wide open throttle and lift off, and we get right back to regen. But if I put ESC into sport mode and I go wide open throttle and lift off, we get some regen there. But watch this again. I'm going to stay in it a little bit longer and lift off. No regen. I'm completely off, but we're still getting the same level of deceleration. And I've just noticed that when I'm driving it hard in ESC sport mode, it uses friction brakes instead of regen. But I get the same feeling as a driver. Now, if I turn one pedal drive off, we coast. If I hit the brakes, now it's just friction brakes. ESC on, off. Oh yeah, one pedal drive off, hit the brakes, yeah, regen. But Polestar is just taking the stance where it's like, you know what, if you're gonna drive hard, no regen. Now there is a drivetrain thermal benefit to that because you're not, you know, having to handle the heat loss of, or even the heat management of dumping current back into the battery, but the efficiency then goes downhill and you're putting more thermal stress on your braking package. So I gotta ask Christian, what's up with that? I know that they don't do any longitudinal wheel speed control in the inverter. They rely on an ESP controller, which means they can't really fine tune the powertrain control during a wheel slip situation like Porsche can, like I believe Ioniq 5N, and definitely like Tesla, where they can do all of that amazing traction control in motor. This does not support it currently. It could come through an over-the-air update, but there's always this CAN lag going from the ESP controller to the wheel speed, you know, to basically adjusting your electric motor output. And so, yeah, again, feels like there was only a certain amount of time to get this car to market, And some of these things of rushing the car out means those little fine-tuning improvements that I really value, that maybe a general customer may not as much, are certainly not in here. And the whole fact of when you turn ESP down, you lose regen, that just sets a bad vibe to me, which is disappointing because the chassis performance of the car feels amazingly well tuned. They just need to work a little bit on powertrain. Here comes a Polestar 3 towards us. Nice. Hello to these guys. And there's another one ahead of us, Alyssa.
Woohoo, we're in
Actually,
the
I'm
territory.
going to hit the brakes really quick. Sorry. It's brake-by-wire, so you don't get any ABS feedback in the brake pedal. What I want to do is actually test some of that wheel spin logic and see if it responds quick enough, because it's not doing it in the inverter. So I'm just going to come here. We have ESC on. 2-foot it. Ready? Yeah, it seems to go pretty quick. I'm not noticing excessive... Whoa, big bump. I'm not noticing excessive spin, are you?
Mm-mm.
One more time, you ready? Yeah, I mean, it takes a second for the traction control to kick in rather than doing it in inverter. But the whole idea of doing it without the lag of communication systems would be that you can just keep the tire right on the edge of maximum grip. I'm floored. And there it goes. So that whole unlocking of the powertrain is something that wouldn't really happen if they had much quicker wheel speed control and powertrain management without the lag of going to an ESP controller. So in a situation like that, you go from low mu to high mu. It takes the car a second to realize, oh, I have traction. Let me unlock the power, where here you feel really kind of constrained. If I were to go to ESC Sport mode, I love that they have a little description of the car sliding here. Watch this. Sport mode. Woo, a little bit of yaw, love that. Then I think it would unlock and allow a little bit more longitudinal wheel slip. So anyway, we're learning. Some good, some bad. It seems like, okay, on an initial test drive, these are the things you wouldn't pick up on, but that's why we came here to really figure it out. And I hope also by putting this in the video, it pushes Polestar to really dig in and dial in those last 2% of drivetrain management control that matters so much to me and a lot of EV owners, especially the performance-minded EV owner that would care about these things. Also, there's no way to fully disable traction control, which I have a fundamental disagreement with on the, I buy a car, let me do what I want with it. Let me sign whatever warning. I want all the systems off. This does not allow that. Though there might be a secret mode. We got to ask Christian what the secret mode is. We got to get that.
We gotta talk to Christian.
We got to talk to Christian. Guys, you join us now in the performance pack car. And we just had lunch with our buddy Christian, who's responsible, again, for the R&D of this car. And we learned a lot about it. I had a lot of individual questions, things we talked about. So, like, brake blending and one-pedal drive is not because of a brake disc wipe for wet calipers wet rotors to dry the rotors off. They have not implemented a wipe functionality yet. There just must be some tuning where we were hearing the brake discs actuate, very lightly grabbing the discs, but it is still primarily regen. And then when we were in ESC Sport and we noticed no regen on the car, that's intentional. You will, if you just put it in sport mode now, like we haven't been ripping on this car very much, I can floor it, lift off, we get a ton of power and regen. Once it starts to notice you're in a performance drive cycle and like you're really pushing on a track or something like that, then it will cut power. Now, I had mentioned we were driving it pretty hard-ish, ripping, but only for a couple minutes and not racetrack speeds at all. So I think that, their philosophy is to prevent drivetrain heating by putting the thermal stress into the brakes. Makes sense. And they say they have the braking package to handle it. They're like, you can do a lap of the Nürburgring, not without completely overheating yet, but a couple of corners in, whatever that calculation, you will transition from regen to friction brakes completely, just to save the thermal stress in the driveline. Okay, at least that's intentional and not a bug. And under normal cruising, especially in the winter time when you just want to slide the car around a little bit in ESC Sport mode, you still will retain regen. The car cannot do ABS or regen through ABS, which is Okay, again, those little tuning things I really wish they would work on, and perhaps they will with an over-the-air software update. We talked a lot about ESP tuning, traction control tuning. If they were to move it to the inverter rather than doing it in a sub-module or an ECU where there's this lag, it could really transform some of this car's capabilities. And of course, I think the clutch reconnect, disconnect needs some tuning, and the torque vectoring system works really well, but as a driver, you kind of have to drive knowing you have a mechanical torque vectoring system and stay in the throttle longer than you would like. So you initially throw the car into a corner, give it some power, and then as you stay on the power, you'll feel the vectoring happen. So it's not instantly, it's not like having electric motors. There's still a mechanical clutch that has to actuate in the back. And so like if I'm going around this corner, if I just floor it, I can feel the front motor go. But if I stay in it long enough, I can feel that outside rear motor start to push me in. So it's really great for long sweepers with high mu to help get the car stabilized in a corner. And you can do some interesting things with it. Thankfully, it's not a abnormal or intrusive vectoring system. I actually think it's done really well from the torque vectoring portion of that rear diff. What else did we learn, Alyssa? We asked a lot of questions about the capacitive dead zones in the wheel. He's like, yeah, nothing we can do about that.
Yep, and it has nothing to do with your heated steering wheel as well. You mentioned that. I don't know.
Performance pack is tuned differently from a suspension standpoint. There's some valve adjustments and also settings, of course. And he said, you know, suspension standard, nimble, and firm have just been shifted a little bit stronger in this car. So it's not quite where, you know, nimble in the old car is soft in this one, but it's just slightly skewed to give this a little bit more sporty ride. But instantly I have to say, okay, maybe yes, but no normal person would ever pick up on that. At least we're on smooth roads, but feels just as nice as the other car, wouldn't you say, Alyssa?
Yeah, I would agree. If you didn't tell me we were in the performance car, I don't think I'd know.
And the nice thing is we did a little bit of hooning.
A little bit.
You can slide it.
You can slide it.
And ESC Sport mode generally stays out of the way. I was like, dude, let us go full off. And Christian made a good point. He basically said, okay, but your ABS, your steering, you know, your EPAS tuning, your torque vectoring diff, these all work together as part of the ESP module. So if you really want full off, the car's going to drive like crap. So he's like, we can, you know, maybe what I suggested, I don't know if they'll do it or not, but I said, okay, you know, on Performance Pack Polestars, you offered a paid downloadable upgrade to enhance the performance. It'd be really great to do like a Performance Pack Plus downloadable update that fixes all these tuning issues and lets us get way more yaw and maybe even a track mode where I can pre-chill the drivetrain. Look, we're in a SUV at the end of the day, but it really is like a hot wagon. And I think Polestar needs to shape their DNA to not just being like every automaker making a performance variant of the car and making it fast in a straight line, which this admittedly isn't the fastest thing in a straight line. It has half the power of a Model X for roughly the same money. But I think where they can really start to show the EV enthusiast crowd is understanding those fine tuning things, offering a real adjustable performance experience, honestly pretty similar to Tesla track mode. And I think, you know, Christian agrees. He's like, yeah, that'd be really cool. You know, there's only so much time in the day, so much budget to spend on these things, and how many sales would they get out of it? But I think a lot of what they do today as a brand will set the brand image and perception for years to come. So as Polestar 5 and 6, the performance variants come, I think it's really important that they show, if they are saying they're benchmarking Porsche and they're going to be, you know, right up there in that performance era, these things, pre-chilling of drivetrains, thermal management, expertise, these have to come through, is my impression. And I think they've got a really nice hardware platform here, considering it's also shared with an EX90, which is a very, you know, normal pedestrian SUV. And they're making it handle this good and ride this nice and be so great in so many areas. I think they've really got something going on here. But there is a sense of fun here. It's just like, let me have all the fun if you're going to put a performance badge on the car. And don't rip the seatbelts when I have in ESC Sport mode. We've been through that with Misha on the Nürburgring with these cars. We're almost there. It needed another 6 months in development with a real focus on the last 5% to be totally dialed. I'm hoping OTA can really get this thing dialed in for the last 5%. 99% of consumers, Alyssa, will care zero about this. It's really a great chassis. This thing is naturally so fun, so hardcore, and I have suspension just in super soft, steering in light. And that's how I would drive it. I mean, I really like a car that works for me. So in terms of a compliance standpoint, it's really, we're so close. You can hammer it if you want to. ABS is a little bit, yeah, too much ABS. I want more wheel lockup. But, so this is fun. Now we're talking. Oh yeah, the more power I give it, the more it works on the rear axle. Here's where I really want. Oh yeah! Full rippage. Thankfully, Polestar provided us a closed rally stage. I don't think the viewers know how great this thing is handling through here.
No.
We got to get a couple exterior shots of it just.
Yeah.
Shout out to Alyssa for getting some of those exterior sliding shots. Sorry that the pebble hit you in the face.
Pebbles.
Pebbles hit you in the face.
Multiple pebbles.
Do it for the vine. That's your dedication to out-of-spec viewers right there.
People don't know by now. After the mud incident.
That's right, you got splashed with mud in the Cybertruck film. Oh boy. Well, have to say, they must have engineered this car with no ESP, or at least significantly reduced, because this is a freaking rally car. This is like all day. And you know, the thing is, I do wish ESC Sport Mode allowed a bit more yaw. There was a couple of situations where I'm like, I'm wide open, just leaning on the systems, and I'm like, I want more power. Let me rotate this thing. Give me juice. And then other times, it was totally, you know, opened up, and I was good to rock and roll. So driving this car hard is slightly inconsistent, and you kind of need to get it set up and use the weight on a slippery road. I think if anyone at Polestar is watching, hopefully Christian, if you could just turn, like open up ESC Sport Mode a little bit more, and this is a full-on rally car. Unbelievably well balanced. Great powertrain split front and rear. You just got to get the thing rotated, mat the throttle, and all the way through. And it does exactly what you would expect it to do. I would like a little bit more aggressive ABS, which I mean by actually turning down ABS. I need more wheel lockup, especially on a loose surface. Maybe there's an off-road, you know, there's this raised suspension mode, but okay, so dial down the ABS a little bit is probably the best way to say it, especially with ESC Sport Mode on. It'll help in the dry too to reduce some stopping distance, I think. It's a very overactive ABS system, and a couple little fine tunings here and there. Wow, who knew a platform that underpins a 3-row mom car, the EX90, could do that on a back road and just... It's heavy, but you actually can use the weight to your advantage on a road like that. How did it look from the outside, Alyssa? You also rode in it when we were driving hard. How'd it feel?
It felt good, looked good, looked like a lot of fun. So yeah, it's a little ripper.
Oh man, this is a ripper for sure. Okay, I love it. Hell yeah. We have no real highway driving in this test, Alyssa, and so in that case we have to use the driver assistance system on sort of these back roads. And the first thing is there's no distance adjustment for the driver assistance system at all. It is just its fixed distance, and it feels, I don't know, why not give me the option? We got extra space here on the wheel, but they apparently have this philosophy that they know best, which I disagree with, and I'd like to change my distance based off of the driving scenario. And also you can see it having a little bit of a hard time picking up the lines all the way up sometimes, but it is pretty poor conditions. And other than the capacitive system having some dead zones, I'd say it does a pretty good job of lane centering. It's certainly enough for me. And then, you know, in the future, the US cars, well, I guess later production of US cars will be available with a LiDAR system that should improve the driver assistance even further. Although I struggle to believe LiDAR will actually work in rainy and messy conditions like this. So anyway, the driver assistance is something we'll have to run in the Hogback Challenge as soon as we get it to Colorado. Alyssa is putting on your massage program, which runs for 20 minutes and then shuts off.
Yep.
But at least it tells you and it says you can restart. So that's nice. Here's it saying, pay attention to driving. And you can see the DMS system down here. So I will do just that. And thanks for watching this clip. Goodbye. So this is where the distance adjustment on the cruise control would make sense. As you can see, I have it set to 70 and the other car is all the way the heck up there. And we were slowed down to 45 miles an hour for no apparent reason.
and now it's picking up again. So, and I'm also in autopilot jail. So yeah, I just shut it off there. But steering assist unavailable until next drive. But at least I have adaptive cruise. And autopilot jail comes really quick. It's not actually called that, but our viewers know what the heck I'm talking about. And this driver assistance system is just way too nanny intensive. The capacitive on the wheel isn't picking up everywhere, and I really hope this gets some over-the-air improvements yesterday, because I'm just so frustrated using it. It does a good job of staying in the lane, but then if you want to make one adjustment to anything, it's like, oh, it's the end of the world. So yeah, pretty nanny intensive here. You join us on the way back to our starting location, and it is actually snowing in September, and we're on summer tires. These are this is the performance pack car that comes on summer tires, but even the dual motors that they brought along, the non-performance pack cars, they have on the accessory 22-inch wheels, which I think actually might look better than the performance pack wheels, and those are also on summer tires. So shout out to the unseasonably cold temperatures here. Love to see it. Anyway, I'm having fun sliding this thing around and enjoying it on the wet and slick roads, allegedly. So yeah, let's get the heck out of here before the snow really comes in.
Will you join us descending Teton Pass at the moment? What a beautiful day. It was cool to see snow right at the peak up there. We're at 14% state of charge, and I have to say our efficiency on this drive has been absolutely horrible. That is because I've been driving this car like an idiot, but I still don't get the perception that it's that efficient of a vehicle. Perhaps we need to get one on standard wheels and tires and try that out. But actually, how do I get to the efficiency menu? They have a really nice efficiency menu, and it's range and trip. And so a couple things they have going for us. They have a instant consumption, so you can see as I regen more, oh, we really put a lot back in the battery, which is great. We have our driving history, which is great to see. And then you have this line, which is like your speed and then your consumption. And then we have the trip computer, which actually gives us since last charge, current trip, and since last reset. Wonderful to get all of those things. The only thing I wish it had was a lifetime. So that would just stay in there. But we've averaged 668 watt-hour per mile since we got in the car at lunchtime. Alyssa, that's Cybertruck, even worse than Cybertruck levels of consumption. Granted, we are at high elevation right now. We're going to gain a lot on the way in. But let's just say even, 2 miles per kilowatt hour, 500 watt hour per mile, driving it hard still is not great. So I got to really dig into this efficiency. It's cold. It's under 40 degrees out. Yes, it has a heat pump and some other things. But, yeah, doesn't seem that efficient. Your impression, Alyssa?
You've been driving it pretty hard, so it's kind of hard to base it off of this drive.
Yeah, wouldn't base anything off of this drive. But it does give you some good insight. When you click this little arrow right here, check this out. It will even give you distance and then where the energy went from. So we used 47.84 kilowatt hours to move the car. 1.2 kilowatt hours went to battery care and screens and sound system. I'm assuming sound system pulls quite a lot because it's 1,600 watts, 1.6 kilowatts of sound, which is really quite a bit. And, the navigation, we haven't mentioned it yet. I mentioned it in my full tour, but it does route planning with preconditioning and plug-in charge. You cannot adjust your state of charge on arrival at charging stations, but you can at your destination. I still wish it would let you choose, I want a 3% arrival at charging stations. So you could really take advantage of that 250 kilowatt charging, that big amperage down low on superchargers once this car gets access, and then, hop around. But it's the Google system. GM uses it. Polestar's used it before. It's fine route planning. Anyone can listen to this and get to your destination in a reasonable amount of time. So I like this, and I'm glad it does on-route battery preconditioning. About 8 kilowatts of battery heating is what we've heard as the maximum load, and it will heat scavenge from the battery to the cabin. And it's got a nice thermal loop system, very similar to Tesla's Octo Valve, where it can basically make sure no energy goes wasted. Okay, this person's pulling over for us. You can take a look ahead. Very nice. We now have clean roads and beautiful views. So realistically, there's not much more to add in this video than my first drive, other than the car rides unbelievably well. It is really fun when you push it, but there is tuning left to be done. And I think that was the initial perception on the car. We've had a couple little software glitches. For example, when I go here on the seat adjustments, you can see now it lets me push and go through the menus 1, 2, and 3. Although, nope, now it's held up and it won't let me go anymore. So this seems to be a bug. And then when I click away, at least before, it kept popping back up. So little things like that. We had one moment where it wouldn't allow us to adjust the automatic climate control settings. I had to go to manual, adjust the fan speed, and then it opened back up. So again, tiny little stuff. Like I said, it's one software update away, 2 months of drivetrain tuning away from real, ready to rock and roll. And I guess it comes down to should you take the plunge? Should you be one of the first to take delivery of this car? Honestly, to me, yes. None of the glitches seem to really impact the driving experience all that much. Alyssa, I mean, we haven't had any major glitches with this car, not like EX30, and I would argue I've been driving this car harder than I was EX30. So what's your impression of the car?
Overall, I think it's a great car. I think a lot of people will enjoy it. Do I think that a lot of people are going to gravitate towards this? Probably not, because it's just not a tried and true brand quite yet, so it's harder to spend 80 grand on something like this without knowing, especially with the previous car companies that have gone under. I've already seen some comments of like, how can you trust something like that, especially at that price, or is it gonna just deplete like a car company just did?
Fisker.
Yep.
Yep.
And
but I think this is a little bit different because it's got that backing of Geely, so much money. It's got that Volvo heritage, but it's still like they're not in a great spot financially. No way around that. Right.
So yeah, there's still a lot of that, and it's a lot of money for this car.
Yeah,
but,
it's e-tron levels of money without the Audi badge.
Right. And would I say this is better than my e-tron?
I would.
I wouldn't trade my e-tron in on it.
Really?
No.
I think it charges 100 kilowatt peak higher. It's got a comparable, if not better, sound system.
My car is a 2019.
Yeah.
So.
And the new one hasn't really changed.
Right, but in terms of just like overall, it's not as premium as the e-tron at all.
You don't think so?
No.
I think it is.
Okay.
But we can agree to disagree.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe some of these materials and stuff don't feel as nice.
It's literally just plastic.
Yeah.
But there's little things here or there. Do I think it's a great car? Yes. Do I think it's worth 80,000? No.
So a standard one is, not 80 grand.
What is it going to be?
Yeah, high 60s, low 70s.
No, okay. Sure.
It's below Macan. It's right, I would say, below e-tron pricing-wise for a comparable one. You get a fully loaded performance pack for way less than an Audi SQ8 e-tron. I actually think it strikes a sweet spot in the market. This is my view, of course, and I love the brand. I love that they focus on the performance. I love that, I just love the steering wheel, how it comes out at the right angle. I think the car looks great. I think it feels very high quality. I actually do think it feels just as premium as, actually even more premium than some of the Mercedes stuff we've been in. And it feels really well put together. I just think the software, and I'm talking deep electrical architecture tuning, needs a little bit more robustness, I think, to make me feel totally comfortable recommending the car. And that goes for all of the new Volvo, Lotus, Geely stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just seems like it's a rush to market, and we're not fine-tuning this stuff. The last 5% matters so much, and that's all the car is really missing. So I think overall, if I was to wrap up the Polestar thoughts, I mean, it needs a little bit fine-tuning right at the end. A couple software updates, maybe some, drivetrain improvements, things like that. Chassis is almost perfect. I didn't really get a chance to drive the car hard on dry roads, but just driving it around in loose surface, getting it moving was really nice. Overall, it's a car that really appeals to me. It's a performance-oriented brand. They've made a performance-oriented, I'm going to call it a wagon, but it's really like a lifted wagon / SUV thing. It's amazing to me this is built on the same platform as EX90 because it does have this performance edge, this character that does encourage you to drive hard. I think it needs another 300 to 500 horsepower. I mean, yes, we're spoiled, but it's going up against cars like Model X Plaid that have 1,000 horsepower, and Lucid Gravity that's going to have significantly more power, which is not far off the pricing of this thing. So I do think it's not underpowered. It's going to be fast for most people, but when you start putting performance on a car brand, make it performancey. It's, Rivian R1S dual motor has significantly more power, and that's the base vehicle for pretty much the same price. And when you start thinking about all of the crazy performance on and off-road that Rivian offers. This is really for a very specific person who's looking for this Swedish design, loves the Polestar brand, which there are not that many people. Polestar obviously is not going for high volume mass market vehicles. They want to have this performance niche, this sort of high quality, this sort of technical vibe to them. And I think they've achieved it perfectly for this car. It's just such a crowded space when you start pushing $80,000. And this being 82 grand is R1S money, Model X money. And these are vehicles with significantly faster performance in a straight line. This, I think, actually may have the best chassis dynamics of the bunch. At least when you drive it hard, this is really nice to drive. But it is for a niche person. And I think for people who are interested in the car and like the look and like the vibe and like the Polestar brand with all of the Geely Volvo kind of vibe going on here, then yeah, they pretty much nailed it. But they do need a couple software updates as soon as possible. And I'd be happy to help them dial it in. I hope they watch this video and they can take some of our suggestions and improvements, like volume and next track on the steering wheel would be great. Alyssa, I'll let you finish off the video. I know this isn't the most informative video we've ever done. To be totally honest, we already did the first drive when I did the test drive. This is just, I wanted to come and hang out with the engineers and really learn about how this car came to be. So, of course, I'd bring you along the way. So, sorry, Alyssa, go right ahead.
So my overall impression of the car, I really like it. Super comfortable. It's an easy car to drive. It's an easy car to own. The software bugs are there. They can't ignore them. Do I feel as though that they will update and fix those over time? Yes. When? I don't know. Nobody knows but the people who are sending them out. And yeah,
maybe even by the time this video goes live, we don't know.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, when we did ask the questions about this stuff, even they were like, we thought that was already pushed out. So that definitely is something that those buttons just aren't usable, but I'm sure as soon as we put this live, they will be usable.
Yeah, like phone as a key is a function that works, which is great. You have an app. I mean, it works for Polestar 2 as well. So, and it'll actually even work when your phone is dead. You just put your phone here and it will use the low power NFC to start the car, which is pretty cool.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think it's a great car. I really do love the car, but like Kyle mentioned, when you're putting it in that $80,000 price range, granted the non-launch edition should be significantly cheaper, but do I think $60,000, $70,000 car is a cheap car? No, it's not. But it definitely, it is well suited. It's good competition. But it just all depends on what people are looking for in their next car.
You know, to sum it up, this is just a cool car.
Yeah.
It's a really cool car. It's for the like young techie driving enthusiast. And there's a lot of those. I mean, it's a lot of our viewers right there. A lot of my friends are going to definitely be getting this car. So I think, you know, it really appeals to me because I'm like, oh, damn it. Like, it's minimalist. It looks great. It's got this awesome Swedish vibe. The driving dynamics are really great. And yeah, certainly we can nitpick any car. We can find issues with anything. I really think they should have held this car another 6 months to dial it in before it went on sale. That's what that's what the Germans would have done. So I don't like that vibe. We complained about it with the Cybertruck, like you mentioned as well, where we just, you know, want to take delivery of a finished product, do feature enhancement in post, but not features that should be there from day one in post. But with that said, cool car. Definitely think they know what they need to do. We didn't bring any issues to them that they didn't know about, Alyssa.
Right.
So that makes me, at least gives me confidence saying like, okay, they know what this car needs to be. And give it a few months of updates and hopefully it'll get there. But the design's great, the quality is great, the materials are great. Hope the seat doesn't wear too badly over time. And I think we'll end the video there in beautiful Jackson, Wyoming, following the 15-foot Super Mover, which I thought they only got those on the 26-foot, the Super Movers.
I don't know, but we'll see you guys soon on another one. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks for watching. See you again. Bye-bye. One cool thing, guys, is where the washer fluid comes out of the wipers. Comes out, you know, nothing crazy, but just ahead of the wipers. So if I hold the wash, you'll see the washer fluid is just ahead of the wiper and it gets full coverage and good flow. Definitely a good car to drive if you drive in salt and schmutz and bad weather conditions. They know what they're doing.